So I've built around 30 sales teams over the last 4 years, which have generated over $200 million. And on average, these teams bring in anywhere from $100,000 a month all the way up to over $1 million per month, every single month for the offers that they're working on. And it sounds simple enough on the surface, but I'd be completely lying to you if I said this was easy. When you're building a sales team, you're working with people. You're not working with machines. People have emotions, they have lives, they do things outside of their work. And at the end of the day, they're never going to be thinking like you, the business owners. You need to know how to approach building a sales team. And to be honest, even just a few years ago, I never imagined myself building such successful sales teams. So this video is going to be something that my past self would have loved to have watched. And I don't want to hold anything back. So we're going to be looking underneath the hood, setters and closers, why you need them, but more importantly, how do you hire them? How do you train them? How do you compensate your sales reps so they're happy and they stay at your business, they don't churn? How to track all the data and make decisions based on the data? How to optimize your sales teams for effectiveness and efficiency, and just how to be a great leader in general. Now, before I get into it, usually you only retain 30% of information the first time that you see something. So instead of you having to go back and watch this video 3 times over to get everything, do yourself a favor, get out a pen and paper and get ready to take a few notes if you're serious. So realistically, who is this for? Well, pretty much any business that has a product market fit and gets results for their clients. And if you don't know me, I come from a background in sales of all kinds. I've done door-to-door, I've done tech sales, I've sold cars, I've been an SDR, a cold caller, I've been an account executive, a closer, I've been in the high ticket space, I've been a director of sales, and most recently a business owner. And across the board, with far too many people that I've worked with over the last 4 years, I've noticed this one thing. They don't know how to successfully build a team, or they just get scared away from building or maintaining a team because they've had problems in the past finding good sales reps. When they do find good sales reps, they are not successful in retaining that sales rep and they leave, and they don't know how to build the sales infrastructure and the systems to support a team beyond 1 or 2 people. And for most businesses, this is what causes them to stagnate, because sales reps are essentially the lifeblood of your business. You probably have a ton of leads already sitting in your CRM or in your pipeline, so you need SDRs to call up those leads and extract that lost revenue, because most businesses are not doing that. Literally this past week, we had a client we did a re-engagement campaign for. They launched it on Tuesday, and by Friday, they closed an additional 35 deals from their pipeline alone. So let's get into how you actually do that. Now, bringing a setter into your business isn't actually hard, but it is difficult to do correctly. When you're bringing a setter into your business, it is costing you time and it is also costing you money. And they're also investing a lot of their time, energy, and resources into your business. So it needs to be reciprocal. Also, understanding that making a wrong sales hire is more detrimental than it is making a good sales hire, because at the end of the day, you bring that person in, they're calling your leads, they're the ambassador of your business. And if they're not doing a good job, is essentially losing money and wasting opportunity. So the biggest thing when you're hiring a setter is defining the role and your ideal candidate profile. One non-negotiable is to make sure the sales reps you're hiring are people who have previous experience, they have hunger and tenacity, they have character, and they're a good culture fit. And you need to make sure they know things like how to use your CRM, they know how to make cold calls previously, or how to do outbound or DMs or emails or LinkedIn, pretty much all the expected stuff, right? They're also going to need soft skills, the intangibles like listening, problem solving, and communication. Now, with setters, what I will say is the least important thing is previous experience. A lot of people get hung up on that and they take too long to make a hire. In my experience of hiring over 600 people, for an appointment setter specifically, you want somebody with the intangibles, because those are things you can't teach. And then you're going to want to be able to teach them the way that you do things. I'm going to be looking for the person who's going to be dialing on the weekends. They're going to be working late. They're going to be watching YouTube videos, investing in courses. They have the hunger and tenacity to be successful. Everything else is something that you can coach them. Now, when you're looking for candidates, a lot of people allude to LinkedIn or Upwork or Indeed. And in my personal opinion, the problem with those platforms is that that's where the people who are lazy kind of live, because they're on LinkedIn, they're looking at job boards, and they're like one-click applying and they have a resume. Where you want to be looking, and where we have the most success finding people, is in Facebook groups, school communities, paid communities, courses. The best way really that I know is to reach out to people who train salespeople and ask them, hey, do you have somebody who fits this bill? We're looking to make this hire, because the people who are in a paid program program are people who have that growth mindset because they're investing in themselves. Now, the next part about this is the actual interview process and your evaluation of a salesperson. Most people don't have a lot of experience hiring for salespeople. They have unreal expectations and they don't do the proper things. So the number one thing that you're going to want to have is a hiring playbook. A lot of people just wing it and they go off of gut, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. As you know, as other parts in your business, the more procedures you have and the more step-by-step frameworks that you have, the better that thing gets handled. So why would you not have that same mentality when it comes to hiring salespeople? So the first thing you're going to want to do is have example questions for your screen. Now, what we do internally is we have a pretty robust application process. In my experience, the more friction that you create for somebody getting onto your calendar is going to weed out a lot of the people who don't have that hunger and tenacity and kind of make it a little bit difficult for them to get to, right? So what we do is we ask them, obviously, the most important things. Obviously, they're looking for full-time, part-time is very important. Hiring part-time reps usually doesn't work out that well because at the end of the day, if they're doing two things, one thing's going to win their attention and one thing is going to die. What time zones are you able to work in? What relevant work and life experience do you have? What is your familiarity and your experience in high ticket or in your industry? And how do you know you're going to be able to take your current experience and produce results in this position, right? Actually make these people objectively think. Don't make these multiple choices or check boxes. What are your goals? Income goals and non-income goals, right? What's your deeper motivation becoming really good at sales? Why do you want to make money in the first place? What's your 3 biggest sales achievements? Tell us about your experience that demonstrates that you have work ethic to become the best. What is your sales philosophy? Who and what has influenced your sales style? What books have you read? What mentors, what courses and courses have you done? Are you a hunter or are you a farmer? What's your least favorite objection to handle and why? When can you start? And then this is probably the most important thing that I can tell you to save your time in the interview process is make them record a Loom video in 3 minutes or less on the 3 most important things for you heading into your next role. Pay, sales tools, speed, team culture, whatever that is, right? And a lot of these questions is not to get the answer. It's to see how the person explains themselves and actually sells themselves. That's going to be the first step of our setting hiring playbook. Once they pass the application and they're worthwhile of your time, you want to schedule a role-specific interview, getting into the meat and potatoes of their previous experience, getting into the role, the opportunity, and really just kind of gut checking and vibing them out. And then the step 3, right, is interview 2, and that's really going to be a culture type interview. The way that we run it in our business is my business partner, Jake, runs the first interview and kind of susses anybody out. I am the vibe person. I'm the gut person. And then the most important part of this whole thing is do this as fast as you want to hire them. A lot of people will be like, oh, well, I have 3 other interviews this week. I'm going to listen to all 3 of them to make sure I get the right person. This is where you usually lose people because at the end of the day, these people are actively interviewing at other companies just like yours. If you like somebody and you feel good about it and they've done everything that you've asked them and they check all the boxes, just do it in the moment. Don't wait for a good thing to happen. I see so many business owners like, oh, I would like this guy. Can we talk to him? And they're like, well, no, man, he took a role the next day because you didn't say anything. Now that we have hired the person, the most important thing is what is happening from their first day to their 21st day. Now, what you're going to want to create here is really a day-by-day breakdown. We call it the onboarding calendar in our business. You'll notice that the Monday is in black. You don't ever want to onboard somebody on a Monday. If you look back at your last 4 Mondays on your calendar, right, it's usually the most hectic day. There's the most things that kind of change coming in from the weekend. You're just not in the right frame of mindset to hire somebody. So you always want to start hiring people on a Tuesday. You're going to want to have an onboarding meeting. You're going to have them fill out any type of information that you need. You're going to have to get them familiarized with your sales playbook, which I have in another one of my videos, and have them go through and indoctrinate themselves into the company, right? Watch the case studies, watch the testimonials, any business videos that you have about your culture, who you guys are all about, right? You're going to want to add all the team calendars, the team meetings, the one-on-ones, the sales calls, whatever, get that all done. And then the first day, there's really going to be listening to call reviews. They might be shadowing another one of your rep. And then you're going to make sure they fill out their their end of day report, which I'll get into in a second here, even though it's going to be all zeros, right? Just get them in the habit of filling out the information, doing the right thing procedurally. The biggest thing on the first week is going to be that end of day check-in. You're going to want to check in with them at the beginning of the day, and then you're going to want to check in with them at the end of the day. They're going to be making calls on day 3 to get their feet wet. And then the big thing is listening to their own calls, getting feedback, you listening to the calls, and like I said, that end of day. Making sure that at the end of the day, there's no questions unanswered or festered. You want to be able to get to the bottom of things and actually have a really open, transparent line of communication. Now, in regards to like the setter playbook, right? Their onboarding, the role and expectations, the daily checklist that they're going through, how to actually do their job. You want to have Loom trainings and SOPs on your CRM and your systems, your dialer, your text solution, your ManyChat, whatever it is. And then from there, it's going to be script flow and script training, making sure that their tonality is on point, their discovery, how are they asking for questions, what questions do they need to understand, getting into the impact and commitment of those pain points, and then actually assessing them on how well they are for asking for meetings, right? At the bottom here is going to be the full training and resources, end of day forms, meeting confirmation, SOPs, product training, sales calls, reviews, knowledge base, their testimonials, calendar booking links, payment links. Everything you want them to know, have access to, or utilize should be in one playbook. And then you're going to be able to evaluate how well they're taking and distilling that information and becoming successful in their role. And with all that, you're going to basically have supersetters coming into your business. If you follow this framework, you can essentially just eliminate the stress of feeling like your setters aren't doing enough, they're not performing, and you will see a tangible difference in your revenue, in your KPIs, and in everything that you measure on the setter side of things. And to be 100% clear and honest, all that sounds easier on paper than in practice, right? So quick shameless plug here. My agency, Automated Revenue, what we do is we train, onboard, and place setters and closers directly into your business. We're also going to help you in regards to the systems and infrastructure. So we help write your scripts. We help create these types of playbooks in your business. We help doing ongoing training. We're going to help build your CRM, your onboarding process, your no-shows, your pre-meeting call books. Literally everything from opt-in to customer is something that we do in a done for you or a done with you capacity. So if hiring and doing this thing isn't what you want to keep focusing on, you just want to be good at the business instead of trying to juggle hiring, training, and onboarding, check the description for the link. If you're currently generating leads, but you're struggling to convert them, and if you're just wanting to keep learning for free, that's totally cool too. Now, I am going to talk about how to compensate your sales reps a little later on, but first, you're going to want to know how to build a sales team of closers to work alongside of your setters, because if you did everything that we just went through and you found the right person, you trained them up, they have a good script, they have a good system, they're going to be booking a lot more calls on the calendar. You're going to need people to handle those calls. That is not you. And something you need to look for when hiring for a closer is fat cat closers. The guys who just want to get on the phone and have lay down warm leads that basically you just take their orders. At the end of the day, you want closers that are also hungry, who are going to be going back into your CRM, going back into the pipeline, working with your setters, and they're not just sitting there waiting for a call to show up. If they don't show up within 5 minutes, they just ignore them forever. So when you're hiring closers, you're effectively going to follow the same framework and process. Obviously, a setter and a closer, you're going to be evaluating things a little bit differently. Like I said, with a setter, you're really looking for hunger and tenacity. With a closer, previous experience is going to be way more paramount. So right here, again, we got the closer hiring playbook. To go into like the role specific interview outline, some really good questions to ask here. Tell us about your sales experience and your philosophy. What are your career goals? Tell me about a time you learned a challenging new skill that took lots of effort over time. How did you go about that? Tell me a time when you needed to ask for advice or mentorship. Now in that second interview, right, the culture interview, if you have a full calendar of calls and wake up sick, how do you handle your schedule? Tell me about a time when you had to deliver some direct or challenging news in the workplace. Tell me about a time that you got delivered hard coaching feedback when you weren't performing. How did it help? What changed? And then again, tell me about a challenging new skill that took a lot of time or effort that you can ask that on either one of those. Those are going to be really good questions to ask to really understand how that person is going to be inside of your business. And then obviously we're going to have our closer playbook. You want to have a closer onboarding, the role overview and expectations, the daily checklist. Now with scripts, you want to train by call section, and you want to have a bunch of sales call recordings. You want to have calls with qualified prospects. You want to have calls with unqualified prospects. You want to have one call closes. You want to have follow-up examples. Everything that you have done as a business owner, closing your own deals, how can you get that information out of your brain onto paper or onto video to share with a closer? Same things go CRM training, the end of day forms, meeting confirmations, presentations, product training, sales calls, knowledge base, all your enablement documents, testimonials by niche, testimonials in general. This is how you're going to be training a closer. Now, with closers, you're going to want to make sure that they're shadowing you on calls live. Introduce them at the beginning of the call. Tell them that, hey, this is one of our new salespeople here. He's going to be a fly on the wall. If he wants to interject and ask some good questions, give him that freedom if you guys have discussed that. But with closers, there's going to be a lot more hands-onness than setters are really more so following a structure and a process. So with all of your setters and closers now, you're obviously going to need to pay them or they're going to leave, which is something that happens way more than you'd probably expect. So there are a few different models out there that people preach for sales, but anything else but what I'm going to show you is complete waste of your time, and it will get your reps to quit. It's going to demoralize them and actually work less efficiently. When you're thinking of compensating setters versus closers, you got to really understand what is their core responsibilities and what are they doing on a day-to-day basis. Now with setters, if they're working inbound leads from paid ads or from organic content, anybody that is raising their hand and saying, hey, I'm interested in blank service. The company has spent time or energy generating that lead, so you really don't have to pay a base salary if that's the scenario. Sometimes like a $500 to $750 base salary goes a long way, but it's not ultimately required. But you're going to want to make sure that they're meeting their OTE. Now, an OTE stands for on target earnings. So what I have pulled up here is an example of an OTE calculator for a setter. This right here is for an outbound SDR. Now you notice that there's a base salary in here because doing cold outbound, whether through the phone or through LinkedIn or DMs or email, is going to be a harder job. There's going to be less appointments and less opportunities for them to make the money they need to make to stay inside your business. So you want to compensate those for those things. Now, if your business is a little bit, early on and a base salary is something that you don't want walking out of the door, you can at the very least make these KPI dependent. So if you make X number of dials or X number of messages per month, you will win your base. You could mitigate that risk there, but there's really going to be three components to an OTE for a setter. It's going to be either a base or an hourly. It's going to be a per showed qualified appointment, and then it's going to be a percentage of cash collected or revenue generated, right? So in this matrix here, this individual has a $1,500 base salary. They make $50 for every showed qualified appointment, and they get 5% of a $5,000 ticket price. So they make $250 on a close. You also got to factor in your close percentage, because right now, if you were closing at a 40% close, they're making $7,000. If you close at a 20%, they're making $5,000. And in my opinion, this number is the most important number. What your job is going to be when you're making these calculations is how do we get this person to a number anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 per month on average. Now, on the closer side of things, I rarely see a base on a closer for high ticket sales, B2B, home services, right? So let's just say they take 15 calls per week. They close at a 30%. They're closing 8 deals. We could use the $5,000 ticket price again here. This person gets 10% of closes. So they close 18 $5,000 deals. They get $500 per close. They're going to make $9,000 that month. Anywhere from about $9,000 to $15,000 is pretty reasonable for a closer. We've had closers on our teams make $30,000 in a month. Really, you just want to make sure that these numbers are legit. You can actually prove these numbers to a closer, because any good closer in the interview process is going to be asking you these types of questions. So you got to be damn sure you know what your metrics are, or you're going to lose good talent on the interview process. Now, a bonus thing that I'll talk about in compensation is going to be spiffs or incentives or bonuses. These go a long way in sales, right? Because salespeople are hungry to make more money. They're money-driven individuals. So making sure that you have like a monthly sales competition, or what we really like to do, especially for setters, in the beginning of the day, I'll go in Slack, I'll message the team, hey channel, anyone that books 5 appointments today will get a $100 Venmo from me. You can do those random little spiffs and you're going to get a lot out of your team in regards to that. The closer that made $32,000 last month for one of our clients, if he closed $250,000 in revenue, he got a $10,000 bonus, right? So that's kind of what he did to make that large chunk. But without that bonus, he's still taking home $20,000. But I don't think that he would have done that if there wasn't the carrot positioned in the right place for that person. So now I kind of want to change gears here and show you something that might seem boring to you right now, but this is something that I wished I knew about when I was just starting out building sales teams. And it's how to track your data and how to actually make informed decisions, because without data, you're dead. You quite literally have zero clue what you're doing in the business. And if you have zero clue what you're doing in the business, you're just going to be making random decisions and hoping your revenue goes up. So here's what we can do. You need to build out a system to track all the info and send it into your Slack or wherever your communications are going to. So a big thing for us is KPI trackers and end of day reports. For end of day reports, you can use things like Typeform or Airtable, or worst case scenario, Google Forms. Here's a KPI tracker. You're going to want to track the dials, the connects, and then there's going to be a formula in this spreadsheet that we have here that gives you your connect percentage. You want to be anywhere from about 8 to 15% on connect percentage. Your conversations. So a conversation is going to be when you get through the opener of the dial and you actually get into valuable talk time, you're able to talk about and pitch your product, right? So a connect is the person that you intended to call, picked up the phone. And then a convo is, did you get that person into a conversation? And you're going to have a connect to convo percentage. Now this, you want to have around 65 to 75%. From there, you have your qualified conversations and then your meetings booked. And then you have your qualified convo to booking percentage, your dials to booking, your meetings show, your set close, your cash collected, your show percentage, and your close percentage. So what you're going to want to have here is an end of day report, right? That goes through and asks them for dials, combos, sets showed, closed, cash collected, revenue generated, messages sent. This is for a DM setter. Replies, positive replies, meeting asks, sets showed. Now, very importantly, in the end of day notes is you want to have notes from every single connected call that they had, every single convo they had with names and a brief description of what happened on those calls. What are their main objectives for tomorrow, and then overall analysis of what they did in that day. So here's an example of an end of day report. He's a phone setter, did 95 dials, 13 connects, 6 conversations, 3 of those were qualified, and he booked all 3 of them. And then from here, he has all his conversation notes. He has his main objectives for tomorrow and overall. Really happy I managed to increase the number of sets compared to the other day. He had a 3-peat for that day. You want to make sure that you're creating systems and processes to be able to empower your salespeople to let you know what's going on. As an offer owner and as a sales manager, you're able to go into Slack and you're able to see your single source of truth, go through the end of days, read everything that went on, and that's going to dictate what you're about to do. From a managerial perspective, go in, listen to the calls that sounded like they should have been set but didn't get set. You can go through the end of day process. Then the end of day is going to flow into your KPI tracker. We have a VA that takes the end of days and fills out the tracker so reps can't fake the numbers. Now, you're probably asking yourself, Dylan, why do I got to do all these things? The idea here is that you're building an infrastructure for a much larger sales team than you have now. You want to build this for the future, as well as you being able to get this information. You're going to be able to understand what you need to coach for or look for or improve in your setter process. Just before I end this one off, I wanted to bring to light something I've kind of sprinkled throughout the video, and that is how to be a good leader, because it should come as no surprise that when you're building a sales team, you're going to have to lead them. At the end of the day, as the business owner, everything is your fault, and the team will rise or fall to the level of your training and your systems inside of your business. You can't expect to hire some 22-year-old kid to come in and fix everything in your business. They can't come in and write their own scripts. They can't build their own playbook. They can't fix your CRM. They can't do these things for cheap labor. If you want that, hire a VA or an operations person or a COO, right? Like, a salesperson is meant to sell. And before you freak out and get in your head and think, well, I'm not a natural leader, I'm an introvert, I'm this, I'm that, relax. Yes, there's a few soft skills involved in this, but the odds are you already have them. And there's gonna be more hard skills involved than you can develop over time. So you gotta lead by example. You gotta be an excellent communicator and foster open, transparent communication with your team. You gotta be empathetic and be people focused. You gotta set a clear vision and goals with KPIs and OKRs. Be strong, make strong decisions. Don't keep somebody around if they're not producing just because they're cool and you like them. That's not gonna help your business grow. But at the same time, you have to be humble and willing to learn. You got to invest in training and development for your team. You got to motivate and empower the team. You got to give them constructive feedback and coaching. You got to use the data you're collecting and optimize your strategies so you're putting them in the best place to win. And you got to build a positive and supportive culture. And if you can incorporate just a few of those things, you'll be off to a way better start than I was years ago. And you're gonna be able to build a really fantastic sales team. Now, Now, all throughout this video, I've showed you how to build a really solid sales team. But what will really complement that is having an equally strong sales process to implement right away. That way you can tweak it over time and optimize it like I showed you earlier. So click here or anywhere on this video. There's gonna be a pop-up here to watch the next video where I give away my whole sales process for you to copy and paste into your business so you can start seeing results as fast as possible. I'll see you in the next one.